Oh, what a night at the Art Institute of Chicago. My goodness. The Mega Donor event went off without a hitch. It was about 90 minutes long. I kind of walked around the Art Institute playing songs off of my album. Songs about some of my favorite artists. Parenthetically, artists who paint. I wandered around with my guitar, got my steps in, really had a lovely, lovely time. As the event was ending and the Mega Donors were being led out of the Art Institute, my new friend Roy, who had set up the whole show, came up to me and he said, "Hey Johnny, I got a quick question for you. Would you want to play another gig tonight at the Art Institute of Chicago?" And I said, "Yes, Roy, I would." And he said, "Fantastic. Now I need you to do exactly what I tell you." And I said, "Of course, Roy." And then Roy said, "Do you see that restroom over there, Johnny?" And I said, "I do see the restroom, Roy." And he said, "I want you to walk into that restroom. I want you to walk into the third stall, and I want you to face the wall, and I want you to close your eyes." And I said, "Absolutely, Roy. I will do that right now." And so I did. I walked into the restroom, walked into the third stall, and then I faced the wall, and I closed my eyes. I would say about 5 to 8 minutes later, I heard the restroom door open. I heard footsteps, and then I heard the third stall door open a little bit, and then I had this weird feeling of something being wrapped around my head, like a fabric that was very soft, potentially very expensive, I would imagine. It smelled nice, but what it did was it made it impossible for me to open my eyes. Because after the person was done wrapping it around my head, they tied it in a pretty tight knot on the back of my skull. And then they put their hands on the sides of my shoulders, and they slowly led me backwards out of the third stall, and then maneuvered me out of the restroom completely, and across a little hallway to an elevator. And then I heard the person press the button, and then the elevator came down, there was a ding, and the doors opened. And then the person behind me, hands on my shoulders again, maneuvered me gently into the elevator, turned me around so I was facing the elevator doors. Then they pressed another button, there was a ding, and the elevator doors closed again, and then I had the sensation that we were going down. I think we went down 2 or 3 floors, and then the elevator stopped, and there was a ding, and then the door opened, and again I was maneuvered with these hands on my shoulders, kind of helping me take steps out of the elevator onto what felt like a lightly carpeted floor, and I could hear voices in the background, and we were getting closer and closer and closer to the voices. And then suddenly it felt like we had crossed a threshold and we were in the room with the voices. But as soon as we entered the room, the voices all stopped. It was complete silence. And then whoever was behind me led me forward a few more steps and then took their hands from the side of my shoulders and put them on the top of my shoulders and pushed me down. And I was like, okay, so I just kind of lowered myself, and I realized there was a chair beneath me. And so I sat in the chair, and I mean, it wasn't the most comfortable chair in the world, but it was, you could tell it was a good chair. It was solidly built. And so I was sitting there in the chair, in the silence, and then I felt something being put into my lap, and I immediately recognized it as being my guitar. Now, I didn't have a pick with me, so I started finger picking instead, and I grabbed a couple of chords, and I just started to play an instrumental. And then people started talking again. And they started talking, and they were just having this jovial, wonderful time. You could hear champagne flutes clinking, and they were talking and talking and just having the best time, but I couldn't understand what they were saying because it sounded like they were speaking in kind of a coded version of the English language, something akin to Pig Latin, which I don't speak because I am neither. Then I was like, oh, this is a wonderful time to bust out some songs from my album, songs about some of my favorite artists, parenthetically, artists who paint. I got done playing the first little bit of improvised instrumental music on the guitar, and I stopped for a second, and then I started to play the chords to Georgia O'Keeffe, and then I started to sing the first verse, which sounds like a chorus, but it is in fact the first verse, and it goes like this. Georgia O'Keeffe, oh, Georgia O'Keeffe, what a lovely night of the week. Georgia O'Keeffe, oh, Georgia O'Keeffe, what a lovely night of the week. And as soon as I started singing, everyone stopped talking. Now, I've been doing this a long enough time to know when the crowd has turned against me. So I took the hint. I stopped singing. I did play the rest of the song Georgia O'Keeffe, the instrumental version, and people started talking again and having an amazing time. And it just, so I was like, screw it, I'm just going to have to keep playing instrumental songs. So I played most of the songs off of my album, songs about some of my favorite artists, parenthetically, artists who paint. And then I started to play some of my favorite songs, a couple of Stones songs here and there, a little AC/DC, and some Billie Holiday in there, a little James Brown. And then I started to play some of my least favorite songs. I played Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire. I played the Boss's I'm on Fire. I played the A51's Fire in the Hole. I don't like songs with the word fire in the title. So I played a whole bunch of songs. Songs I wrote, songs other people wrote, some songs that no one had written. And then I finished playing a song, and everyone clapped. For the first time, they stopped talking, and they clapped, and they kept clapping and clapping and clapping, and it was kind of this roaring ovation. And then they stopped again, and they were completely silent. At which point, someone removed the guitar from my hands, and then someone else put their hands on my shoulders and kind of motioned that I should go up. So I stood up, and then I was led out of the room, across a little hallway again, I think, and then into the elevator, and then up a couple of floors, and then out of the elevator, and then I was led back into the restroom and back into the third stall. And then the fabric that was being used as a blindfold was untied and unwrapped around my head. And I stood there with my eyes closed, and then I heard the person behind me leave stall number 3 and walk out of the restroom. And then I opened my eyes. And then I turned around and I walked to the sink and I washed my hands because I had been playing that guitar all night and it was pretty grimy. So got my hands cleaned, left the restroom, walked to the doors of the Art Institute, saw the security guy there, whose name was Jerry, and he was very nice. And then Jerry let me out. I walked to my hotel, went up a few floors, got to my room, and fell asleep. The next morning, I wake up to the sound of someone knocking on the hotel room door. I sleep on top of the covers usually when I'm in a hotel, and I always sleep in the terry cloth robe that is provided by the hotel, so I am immediately decent in the morning. I get off the bed, I walk to the door, I open it, and there's a hotel employee there, and he has one of those room service carts with him, and he's pushing it in, and there's this big metal tray with a big metal lid on top of the cart, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And he comes on in with the cart, and then he stops, and he takes off the lid, revealing this incredible, breakfast or brunch spread. I'm not entirely sure, because it was bacon and eggs and toast, which all seemed very breakfasty, but then there was also pancakes and French toast, and I don't know if those were straddling the line between breakfast and brunch. I've never understood breakfast versus brunch. I don't, is brunch just regular breakfast foods with then different types of meat, like fried chicken or roast beef? I don't know. I've never been able to figure it out. But anyways, I look at this spread and I'm like, this is amazing, but hey, sir, I did not order this. I just woke up right now. And the employee said, this is compliments of Roy. And I was like, okay, I will dive in then because I am famished. And then the employee walks outside of the room, but he keeps the door open with his foot. And then he comes back in the room and he's holding my guitar case. And he says, I believe you left this at the Art Institute last night. And I said, well, gosh darn it, I did. And he said, will there be anything else? And I said, no, I'm not sure how to tip you because I didn't pay for any of this. I mean, I would leave like a 40% tip, but a 40% tip of nothing is nothing. And he said, don't worry, Roy's got me. Okay, fantastic, wonderful. So he leaves, I eat, absolutely delicious. Then I take a shower, get dressed, take my guitar case and my little overnight satchel, and I leave the hotel room. And I go down the elevator, and then I get out at the lobby, and just as I'm about to leave this wonderful establishment, I feel a vibrating in my left front pocket. It's my phone. So I stop, and I take the phone out. I click on the message. It's Roy. And the message reads, great, great, great job last night, Johnny. Your Venmo has been generously compensated. And I, of course, messaged back with a question mark because I don't know who Venmo is. Is Venmo a person? Is Venmo a thing? I don't know what Venmo is. And then Roy wrote back, ask Debbie. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. I'm back home. I'm in the carriage house. I believe Debbie is, I think, wedding planning today in the main house. So I'm going to go over there and just ask her what the hell Venmo is. I'm sure she knows. She is as hip as you can get. What a crazy weekend it's been so far. And I just hope you all are having a great, great, whatever time of the week you're listening to this. Be it early in the week during like lunch or midweek during dinner or early in the morning, late week. There's so many different times of the week that it's really silly to kind of go over all of them. It would take so much time. I just hope that whatever time of the week this is for you, you are enjoying it immensely.